Welcome to Still In It, a 5-MeO DMT Journeys podcast, where I talk to real people about their 5-MeO experience. Our goal is to bring you honest and diverse perspectives about what this medicine is all about. I'm your host, Jessie, and I'm excited to have you along for the ride. So hop in and enjoy as we discuss what preparation, ceremony, and integration look like. This podcast is sponsored by Enfold, offering safe and sacred experiences in British Columbia. To learn more, visit enfold.org. That is enfold.org. Or click the link in the show notes. And now, without further ado, I hope you enjoy today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the pod. We have a wonderful guest named Joss. He is calling in all the way from Argentina, and we are so appreciative that you made time for this episode.
Thank you for holding the space, Jess. Let's get into it.
Okay, perfect. The first question we ask everybody is, what called you to the medicine? So you can take that with whatever way you want, explaining your background and a little bit about what called you to 5-MeO.
Of course. So I am not a person that is into these sorts of things at all. Very much open to different modalities of healing, but I just was never someone that really felt that this was a fit for me. Never was someone that thought I needed to crack the shell in this way. And so I was actually coming off of a very interesting experience after COVID. So I did 5 in October, I believe, of 2022. And I was in a place of just having experienced most of my life really grinding, really trying to force things in my life and doing whatever possible to make things work. In 2020, I put that all down. I moved to Nicaragua. I tried to let things flow. After 2 years of letting things flow, I found a lot of success in my life, emotionally, spiritually, financially, professionally, and things started to click. In 2022, I was on a trip with my partner at the time in Panama City, and we were having an incredible time. Things were opening for me in new ways. And all of a sudden, after one specific conversation, things switched for me. And I turned off. I turned completely off. There was nothing, there was no emotion, there was a null to everything. Everything was white noise, and I couldn't exactly put my finger on it. I'm someone that struggled my whole life with joy. I'm someone that struggled my whole life with experiencing the moment. Um, but I really was in a situation in Panama in 22 where the numbness came to a new level. And this is at a time in my life where I, by every metric that I had set for myself, was doing fantastic. And so it was like, oh, I'm here, I've arrived, this is it, this is incredible, and there's nothing. There's nothing at all. I sat in that feeling. I came back to Canada after being abroad for 2 years, and that nothingness persisted. So I knew Steve through a couple of previous engagements, and essentially, he let me know what he was up to, and said that was there if I chose it. And of course, I rejected it. Um, Absolutely not, Steve. Listen, I get it. That's a big thing. Oh, we should. Oh, not for me. Not for me. Not for me at all. And so I went back to a place where I I met with Steve in Vancouver, went back to Vancouver Island. That's where I stay. And essentially, I was on the ferry and realized that there are many ways that I might get out of this period in my life. There are many things that might work. There are many paths I might take. But it just became abundantly obvious that this is the path. And so I called them and I said, I'm in. And that brought me to 5, and that brought me to the ceremony, and that brought me to all of the next steps. So it was something, in short, that I really rejected, did not like, did not identify with, as a person that did such drastic medicines, um, until I very simply had an intuitive sense of the right thing is the right thing. You have to do the right thing. Who are you if you don't do the right thing? If you don't take the path that you know is correct, who are you? So as soon as I had made that decision in my mind, I went through with it, and that brought me to the ceremony.
It's amazing. I have a couple of, I guess, follow up. So, what it sounds like is that you've always kind of lived in a either like numb or dissociated state where like things objectively are great, but you weren't fully present in them. And a specific conversation perhaps triggered you. Do you mind like sharing maybe the theme that allowed you to go into a freeze response?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I would expand on that and say that very much live in extremes. I had a very colorful childhood and full of lots of not so great things, and so there's a dissociated state, right? You go into that mechanism of just, hey, turn off. What you don't realize at the time is that when you turn off both sides. And so I continued to live in that state for my life, um, and still come in and out of that state, even if I don't live in it now. And so the conversation that triggered that, my partner at the time, we were having dinner, and she paused and she looked at me and she said, "Joss, you're such a good man." And she meant it. She truly, truly meant it. And I smiled and gave her a kiss at the time and whatever. But I felt walking back from that dinner just crushed, just absolutely crushed, just demolished on in some way that I didn't understand. And in reflection, I think it was something to do with if I'm doing all the right things, if I'm such a good man, if I'm such a good person, why don't I get to feel? Why don't I get emotion? Why don't I get the upside? Where's my upside? And I get that I've had an incredible variance of experience in this life, and I'm very grateful for that. But I haven't experienced any variance in emotion. And her saying that, someone that I loved and trusted, really, really crushed me. And that just put me into this dissociated state for months, months, which was crazy, crazy to experience.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I guess on some level, maybe did you believe it like yourself? Like, and
I
do you
totally
believe?
believed it. I totally believed her. Totally believed her. Totally believed it. She because she was a mirror for me, and I was like, wow, oh my gosh, you mean it, and I actually think it's true. And maybe she just triggered it in me, like, oh no, it's actually true, and that's not something I believed about myself for my life in my life. And that realization, whether it's her saying it or me believing it, threw me into a crazy trauma response. Honestly,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
Thank you for sharing that.
of course,
The other thing you mentioned was like you realized like who are you if you don't uh, go towards what is right. I don't know the exact words you used, but like
sure.
was it a feeling in your body? Like how did you know like it was time for you to explore 5-MeO DMT or like a psychedelic healing methodology?
I'm a big proponent of like you have it all inside of you. I believe very much in many Eastern philosophies, the whole I am God. I very much believe that. Not I am the God, but I am God. And and I have unwavering faith and intuition to play its part. Even if you are in the most dissociated, unfeeling, numb, cold place, intuition, if you look, can play its part. And so I was in a situation where I needed intuition, and I didn't have it. I'm not a very intuitive person, and if you actually just stop for a moment and think about it, hey, like it's the same thing in business. It's like, well, I could hire a business coach and like do this and do that, but it's like, well, the reality of the situation actually is that if you just sit there and go like, well, what are the things I need to do? You'll probably get the best answer, right? If you can have a moment of authenticity and awareness with yourself, you'll get the best answer. And so, like, if you're someone that's contemplating, oh, do I go into this medicine or not? Do I go into this stage of healing or not? Go sit with yourself and ask yourself honestly. And maybe the answer that comes up is, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And if it comes up as an I don't know, anyone that's thinking, hey, do I go into this? I'm unsure. I'm unsure. I strongly encourage you to go into a space physically or mentally that you can sit with yourself and sit with that I don't know for as long as it takes. And so if you want to make the right decision, have the courage to step into the I don't know, let your intuition come up. And when it comes up, believe it, you know?
100%. Also, like a counter argument to that too is like sometimes when you do ask for the opinions of others, you almost have this like gut feeling of whether or not you agree with them, and that also can
Mm-hmm.
help elucidate whether or not it's kind of
Yes.
like if you ask the waiter or waitress like, "Oh, what do you recommend?" and they recommend something on the menu that you didn't actually want, then you know like, "Oh, it's actually that's what I want." Or I find myself I'll cherry pick friends if I want somebody to give the answer I already think is right for myself. Then I'm just like, this is just a way to like revalidate something I already feel deeply internally and unconsciously or subconsciously, whether or not I am going towards people for the advice that I already like deeply want to step into. So, and all that comes down to this thing you're saying is like sit with yourself. Like, you do know, like deep inside, like there's like a feeling sometimes people feel in their chest or their gut, or their heart. So, do you want to maybe explain a little bit about how 5-MeO may have felt for yourself?
My experience with five was very simply put finding a safe place with pads on the wall, um, and taking the biggest cannon I could find and aiming it directly at the fortress, the citadel that is my self and ego structure, and letting that thing rip. And coming out of it has been both the quickest, that my experience with five was the quickest death, meaning happening within the matter of a few hours, and the longest death, meaning I'm really just coming to a close 2 years later with it. Um, it's still unfolding for me, and I feel it's again coming to a close. And so there's been a death of self immediately, and then there's been this long, drawn out destruction, nothing, destruction, nothing, long time of nothing, destruction, nothing, and then recreation in a really, really beautiful way, which some recent experiences in my life actually have just forced the reconstruction in new ways. And so I think as a 40,000 foot view, that was my experience of 5-MeO DMT.
Yeah, you mentioned uh, the long death of like just finding or reconstructing yourself now. That's something I never fully, I guess, subscribed to when I first heard about 5-MeO DMT or started working with Stephen Austin, was how long of a tail 5-MeO DMT has of
Preposterous.
integration. And I was kind of like, no, that scientifically doesn't make sense. People are just making it up in their head like that, like they're just attributing it to the said event. However, myself going through it, I am aware it's like anything, like a near death experience, something that is on a micro level, it is traumatic because it's like a big awakening, if you will, or
Absolutely.
realization. It does like completely pivot the way that you start to engage in the world. Do you want to allude to a little bit about like how your integration went? Was it like rocky at any points? Was it slow? Like
Yeah.
how did it feel for you?
Sure. My integration period after, so the experience was incredible, extremely challenging experience. I know everyone, some people have intense experiences of love. I had flashes of that, but it was an extremely challenging experience for me. Held in a beautiful way, beautiful way. But my internal experience was very rough, um, to my own doing. um, and then the integration period after. I mean, so I was on a incredible high for, I don't know, a month at least, maybe two, of just coming out and going, this is in alignment, this is out of alignment, this is in alignment, this is out of alignment, this is a good energy, this is a bad energy, this is a bad energy I can integrate and shift, this is a bad energy I need to leave, this is towards love, right, or whatever it may be. And then after that period, I started to notice all of my previous tools defense mechanisms, structures, egoic ways of being, my relationship with the world, my relationship with others, my relationship with self, how I would talk to self. I just started noticing. And pro tip, like as you go through this all, if you don't have a strong meditation practice, I would highly recommend people cultivate that awareness within themselves. Courage and the ability to be self-aware are the only two things you need. And because this thing is so huge, is so humongous, is so incomprehensible, that you feel, or at least someone like myself feels they need to equip themselves as much as possible with resources, tools, people, community, other experience, integration sessions, like whatever I need, let's get me through it. None of that, I mean, it's all going to help, but none of that stuff actually really matters. It's just your ability to be courageous with yourself and stepping into these experiences, and the self-awareness to actually be able to feel what's coming up, or be able to see what's coming up. So my integration period after was 2 incredible months. And then, I don't know, a year plus of, oh my gosh, I have no tools. All the stuff that I used before, I know doesn't work, so I can't turn back to it. I can't turn back to these like trauma responses. I can't turn back to these ways of acting from a place of, I won't say hate, but just not love. I can't turn back to that. I can't, like, it's not within me. So I look to what tools I do have. Okay, well, if I'm not going to those tools, what place can I operate from if I can no longer operate from that place? And I went through a very long period, probably artificially long. It didn't actually need to be like this in reflection, of I have no tools, I'm screwed. Like I'm alone. I feel abandoned. I feel abandoned by myself. I feel as if my ego has abandoned me. I don't know how to act. I don't know how to interact with the world, um, whether that's with loved ones or whether that's with professionally or whether that's whatever. I don't know how to hold my own emotions or navigate anything that comes up inside of me. So I spent a lot of time during that period getting into really, really good shape because that's what I could control. And so I got in great shape, which was awesome, but anything emotionally was not there. And so went through that and then had a really hard breakup at the start of this year. That was, that everything, resurfaced everything. And while I went through this period of no tools, no tools, no tools, no tools at all, through this, ending a relationship with a long-term partner, all of that came up, and I had tools. I felt I could operate with myself, with her, and with the world, so with tools of love, like with tools of truth, like with, as I should have. In reflecting back on that experience was an extremely really challenging experience. Like I'm so grateful to my 5MEO journey because that opened up those tools for me, allowed me to step into those tools. And during this, what became a very traumatic period in my life, many years after, 2 years after that experience, um, I was able to navigate those really hard experiences in a way that, I don't know, looking back a few months after now, I'm so deeply proud of. I'm so deeply proud of. And it's now 2 years after, I'm now sitting here talking to you and thinking, wow, the tools of courage, the tools of love, the tools of self awareness, the tools of truly true non judgment, um, are the most powerful tools. Like, that's not just lip service. Like, everything else is like sticks and stones. And if you're considering doing this experience, I hope you can step into the humility that your current tools, your current modalities are likely, and maybe they're not, but are likely, for most of the world, I believe they are truly of the Stone Age. And you can move into picking up tools that transcend those technologies 100 times over, and ultimately feel and enhance your human experience to a level that you currently don't understand. And so I hope that whoever is listening to this and considering it has the courage to go through that process to choose something better. And as corny as it is, it's truly to choose love, right? But that's a little bit about my integration.
To choose love. No, I actually think that that is part of why psychedelics have such a hippie reputation. Is a lot of the time you leave an experience realizing all life is can be boiled down to this essence of love, like self love and love for others, the world we're in, the experiences, even if they're painful or
Yep.
beautiful. So yeah, it sounds like a lot that you had mentioned, like how to navigate hard experiences, courage, love, self awareness, and true non judgment can kind of be boiled down almost like a Buddhist spirituality. I don't know if that like had been something that's awakened, or if you don't at all, um, maybe affiliate
Yeah.
with that dogmatic look.
Yeah. Word. Absolutely, for sure. But I've meditated since I was 16 years old. I've been reading Eastern philosophy for years. There's different levels of knowing. I was locked at a cerebral level of knowing.
Hmm.
I could tell you about the Eightfold Path. I could tell you about all these things for sure. Absolutely. But like, was any of that in my cells? Was it in my body? Absolutely not. There's a citadel between that and knowing in my body. And so, yeah, those are doctrines and those are teachings that I very much subscribe to. And don't even understand, but I feel I have a lived experience of those things at a new way, and because of this lived experience that I have, it has unlocked a new level of curiosity and purpose. Um, like we think that life is about having fun and enjoying things and like living. Like I truly believe that life is about education. Like life is about curiosity, very specifically. And so it's unlocked a new. It's about love and curiosity. I really believe that those doctrines are onto something. I've found the most truth in them out of all the all the theologies of the world, and so I'm excited to keep going down it and having more not red experiences, not cerebral experiences, not prefrontal cortex experiences, but more lived experiences, and that's my version of play now.
Yeah, I love that so much. I think you hit on a lot of important um, parts of what, like, I guess 5-MeO DMT touts, that it's more of a somatic drug, and it's kind of, I mentioned this before on a different podcast, but the paradox of psychedelics that Sam Harris talks about, that's like you could engage in meditation, but doing psychedelics allows you to understand and feel on a deeper level what the whole reason that meditation's trying to get you to. So it sounds like you had quote unquote what a somatic experience was to allow you to feel more like you're living and that you're feeling. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's people say like things all boil down to frequency or whatever, and I mean, yeah, I sense that to be true, and but the fact of the matter is that through our lived experience, it's just like we go through so much. Life is so hard. Um, Life can be treacherous. Life can be mean. Like, and I felt that I needed an. I'm very much a believer in internal solutions, and I felt that I needed to integrate a very tasteful and calculated external solution in order for meditation or whatever, just living in general, to actually be able to permeate me as a being, for me to actually be in an experience, like, and that's a great question to ask yourself. Anyone that's listening is like, can you actually be in an experience? Do you have like the bandwidth, the ability to be at a restaurant, to be with your family, to be at work, and to wholeheartedly be where you are? Can you actually live the experiences you're choosing? Or are you just a ghost passing through? Are you just a body passing through? Or can you be there? Have you ever been there? And I know that the answers to those questions for me were no. And I started to have really great experiences in life where other people were able to have the experience, and I was simply a ghost passing through. Um, And so that was part of the work that five helped me go through.
So it's been about 2 years, and you mentioned that you've gone through a long period of death and nothingness and then deconstruction and whatnot. What is bubbling for you now? Like, do you like what has like been this like reconstruction of Joss?
Mm. Josh is not reconstructed for sure, definitely not. Um, I'm 27 years old. I'm very early on my path, so I'll just lead with that. But the current iteration right now is okay. Nothing, nothing is more important to me than living every experience that I have with an open heart. Truly sitting here with you, connecting with you, sharing with you, opening myself to you just right now is the most important thing. And feeling the fear come up and having the courage to step past it in every experience, coffee shops, work, going out, at the club, at the gym, wherever you are. My constant, every day, every moment work is, can I actually be here? Can I show myself? Can I show myself? Get absolutely demolished by the world and show myself again, um, in hopes that the next time the world will embrace me. And I do believe that the world will embrace me. And I do believe that, um, you get in post breakup jobs too. So I'm in my feels like, in terms of relationship as well, it's like, well, can you actually love as a child loves, step into love? If you choose love, truly give your heart, get hurt, truly give your heart, get hurt, truly give your heart again and again and again. Because I believe that if you don't do that, you have nothing. There's like you won't you miss it for all the bros out there. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, and that's true externally and it's true internally. So every moment of every day, I'm trying to take that shot. And what that means for me in the current iteration of my post 5-MeO experience is to live and interact with other beings in the world with an open heart and having the courage to do that because it's terrifying as well. Right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful, especially the analogy to your broken heart. Like that is like something that I think a lot of people can relate to. Like when your heart gets broken and you're closed off, but a lot of it's just like how much can you reopen your heart? Because like suffering or pain is inevitable, right? So like, but it's like, oh, are you going to allow it to like keep closing you off and putting up walls and walls, regardless if it's a breakup or a job loss or somebody making fun of you or whatever it might be?
Sure.
It's like, how are you going to show up again? Um, and be like your authentic you without feeling like you need to shut your heart out. Um, so it's wonderful. I guess the last thing I want to ask is, do you feel a call to do 5-MeO again or any other psychedelic? Or do you think like one and done?
Anyone that's had an experience with Enfold is going to let you know that this is a process of remembering. You already have it. We get delusioned as we go, um, and hurt and traumatized as we go. And then we come back to a certain place, and certain experiences make us remember. So my current thing of live every day through your heart is like, hey, yo, remember every day, right? I don't doubt life's ability to come through and close me the fuck down, right? Really close me up. I don't doubt life's ability to do that. And so, but I also have faith in myself that when and if that happens, I will look to a medicine, a plant medicine, maybe five, maybe something else, or an experience that can loosen the muscle and open it up. That being said, I also understand that my current level of depth in myself is still fairly shallow. And so I trust my intuitive process to say, hey, you know what? Maybe it is a year from now, maybe it's 2 years from now. Let's go a little deeper. Because for all the divers out there, you can't just go, 50 meters deep. You can't just do that. You got to climatize, right? Little bit by little bit. And your emotional self is the same, right? You can't just dive into the deep end. And if you do dive in the deep end, it's not going to go very well. And what comes up for you, you're not going to understand. And what comes up for you isn't for you in that moment. So don't try to go all the way. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And so it's like go bit by bit. And so will I choose this medicine again? Um, very likely, very likely. Just from a hedonic standpoint, what an experience! And I really believe that having had this experience once, I am infinitely more educated to go into it again. My actual ceremony was me holding the hell on in the most uncomfortable way until five was like the Mike Tyson knockout punch. But until that punch, I was like, I'm not going down. And so now, if I was to come back to the medicine, um, I would I wouldn't even put my gloves on. I wouldn't even put them gloves on. So, anyways, yeah. So maybe that answers your question. Maybe it doesn't.
No, yeah, I was just more curious, like for myself, because I always like him and haw about whether or not I want to engage in 5-MeO again. And I think it's an interesting question because I have a lot of like guests who ask like, "Oh, do people just come once or do they come a lot?" And it's just kind of like I think it's all very unique to the individual and what ends up on somebody's integration plate and how they feel. So,
And it's so annoying. It's like this, and there's no clear answer. There's a lot of questions that come up, but like there's no answers. And people come to Enfold seeking answers, or at least I did. And I just got a whole bunch more questions. And so like you have to the whole answer thing,
mhm.
you got to put that down. You got to put that down. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. If you want certainty, do I do it again? Do I not do it again? How do I do this? How do I do that? That's not how it's gonna roll.
Yeah. The answer is more questions. Yeah, I think the answer it's interesting. Like, do you think going in with an intention is needed? A lot of people are like, do I need to set an intention? What is my intention? What is your
No, I
thoughts on
don't.
it?
I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I believe if you can like actually, like, do you have the capability to sit? Do you have the capability to sit? If you have the capability to sit, like with yourself in a space, then you're good. Intention, I mean, intentions are great. Intentions are fantastic. Your intention is, for anyone that can't see my hand movements here, is on a lower level. Your intention is on a beautiful but human and lower level. It's on a cerebral level. It's on an egoic level. And the answers are way the heck up here. And so your questions just don't permeate to the real answers. They don't connect to the real answers. You could say that in other words, you're asking the wrong questions. Please, 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 in your experience, whoever is listening to this, be okay with the constant prompting of the next question and know that that's leading you to the correct destination. Please, I beg of you, find security knowing that you are on the path. You might not be there for a long time, and this might be rough, but you are on the path. Please keep walking it. Please keep asking the questions. Please keep choosing it. If you do that, you will be fine. You will be safe. You will be loved. Um, but if you stop asking the questions, you turn around, you try to find the other path, it might lead you astray.
Beautiful. Is there any, I guess, last things that maybe come to mind that you want to share or
I'll just share, everyone's experience is different, but I'll just share real quick. When I came out of the experience directly after, came up, went outside, I thought, oh my gosh, boom, punch in the face. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, she's not lying. She's not lying. You might say, well, Josh, what does that even mean? Right. And what it meant to me in that moment, what it means to me to this day is like, I often observe mother. I didn't have a prevalent mother. My mother's alive. I didn't grow up with a lot of parenting, and I would watch other mothers parent at the park, school, whatever. Maybe they're watching their daughter. She falls down. She stubs her toe. She's crying. It's bleeding, and she comes to her side and goes, "It's okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Don't worry. I got you. It's okay, babe. Come here." Right? I'd observe that, and I'd always be like, "Yo, don't do that. I'd be like, don't do that. First off, I mean, I get it. You're a mother and you're trying to get your kid through this moment, and your kid's in pain. Maybe they're 2, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, doesn't matter. And they're in pain, and you're trying to get them through pain. Like, I get that. Okay, cool, get them through the pain. But don't do that. That's so cheap. So cheap. Because, first off, it's not going to be okay. Don't tell them it's going to be okay because it's not going to be okay. Life is savage. Life is more savage than you can even comprehend. You think it's savage for you. There are versions of the human experience that are infinitely more savage than whatever yours is. Please have a respect for that. You think you know pain for you, but universally there's untold depth to pain and suffering. Right? We have to have a respect for that. And okay, well, so no, actually, it's not going to be okay. This world's a little rough. And then the second thing is also child and mother. Me observing this on the playground from my awkward 50 meters away. You're going to die. So in the end, it's not okay. It's really hard and you're going to die. So like please don't like you should get your child ready for that. As a parent, you should get your child ready for that. That was my previous that was my previous mentality that I had my whole life essentially. I come out of this 5-MeO experience and the first thing that comes to my mind is she's not lying. She's telling the truth. She is connecting that child to the one thing that that child is at simultaneously first going to forget, and secondly, the only thing we need to remember, which is that in the end, when you flip to the end of the book, as you do in your 5-MeO experience, and you connect with Source, you connect with God, you connect with all that there truly is beyond your senses and perceptions, you realize how indescribably beautiful and incredible it all is. And I now hold the belief that death is the most beautiful part of life. What a gift. What a gift. Right? The end of self perception. Incredible. Right? Um, so I go, oh my gosh, she's not lying. In the end, death is incredible. And secondarily, at the same in the same breath that we get to play with the joys, the horrors, all of the energies. Because let's remember that we know from our Eastern teachings is that nothing is inherently good or bad; it just is. And we are in this world of a billion things that just are, and we don't have to endure them. We get to play with them. And so she's reminding her child that, hey, in the end, you get to play with this pain, you get to interact with it, and you get to get back on that playground. And in the at the end of your life, you will experience the most incredible sense of joy and love and fulfillment and purpose and wholeness. And child, as you go through this world, pain will be inflicted on you and suffering will be inflicted on you. And I need you to remember that it's going to be okay. And she's communicating that to her child. And that is the only thing she should ever say. That is the most important thing she should ever say. And I have such a deep belief in me that women are divinely connected to that in a way that I don't believe I am. And I have a profound respect for a woman's ability to connect to that level of truth in a way that I don't understand at all. And so at the end of my, actual ceremony, I came out and realized that she isn't lying and she's saying the only thing that matters.
That's really sweet. Yeah. Oh, I had so many feelings as you were talking about that too. A lot of people ask like what is it that like happens during your ceremony, and for me it's not like you see God. I come from a very scientific like chemical background, and for
Mm-hmm.
me it's like we learned that everything's energy. And this whole process of like five reminded me like when I basically die, you die like your ego's dying, and then you enter this like space of abyss basically, but it doesn't feel like abyss, it just feels like home, but you're not really thinking, it's just like whatever. And then you come back, you just realize like wow, all it is just like pure energy. When you're like you die, and when you die you leave this like ego behind, and what we are experiencing is actually a gift. It's like what when you die it's going to be beautiful, and it's not as like horrid as like we think it's going to be, but it's going to be the absence of sensation essentially. And that like really what we are sensory machines. It's like the pain, the joy, the colors, the beauty, the foggy days, the sunny days, these are all just like gifts, and like it'll all be okay because essentially we're all going to die. Um but to like embrace and like feel what you can feel, because even that horrific heart pain you might feel in a breakup, you won't be able to experience when you leave this like earth, or this human vessel,
Oh,
if you will.
yeah. The like I had some super dark moments recently, and in the midst of those dark moments, I did smile. I did smile because I knew and understood, like, oh my gosh, look at all this feeling. Look at all this feeling that's going on here. Holy, what a beautiful thing. And then you're like, and then you drop back in and you're like, oh wait, but it's horrid. And you know, like, oh wait, but it actually really, really hurts. But, you know, even in my darkest moments recently, you know, I've been able to just take a second, just take a second out of that and like kind of smile at myself and be like, wow, Josh, like, look at you crumbling. How beautiful. Like, good job. Like, look at you absolutely crumbling in a way that you didn't think you could crumble. Look at you crumbling. Good job,
It's
homie.
wonderful. Yeah. I feel like the muscle of resilience in a way is strengthened. And I don't mean resilience in a way that you need to be powerful. It's just like the acceptance allows you to feel resilience and just allow you to feel and be present for those
Mm,
emotions. Cause yeah.
mm. When you come into these ideas of resilience, or when you come into these ideas of discipline, as you've said, you think it's this like hard, sticky thing, like grind nose down. Resilience can also be incredibly soft. Like, my experience first was with the more harder version of resilience, and is now starting to transmute and transform and evolve. I don't know if it's an evolution, actually. I think they're just two sides of the same coin. But starting to transmute and convert into a softer type of resilience and a softer type of discipline as well, that integrates, that takes the punch and works with it, as opposed to takes the punch and breaks the hand that's trying to punch you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the middle way, like, because you will need some like hard resilience sometimes and soft
Mm-hmm.
resilience. And yeah, it's a balance, which I realize is kind of the whole game of life, is realizing you need to just strike that balance.
Yo,
But
you do, man, and like so many cliche things people say. All you need is love. Don't like find a balance. All that, like all those things. You're gonna hear them when you're a kid. You're gonna hear them when you're a teenager. You're gonna hear them when you're a young adult. When you're an adult, you're not gonna understand them. You're gonna accept them as true. 5MEO is a way of actually finding lived experience into those deep truths.
mhm,
5MEO can put or help open help open yourself to accept those deep truths in a way that you actually understand them, right?
yeah,
As opposed to just hearing them from an abuelo or from a, you know, from a grandfather or whatever, right? Like just a, or a grandmother saying, hey, some grandmother saying, hey, are you being kind? Kindness is all you need. Like, yeah, I get it, thanks, got it, I'll be kind today, right? And then you go through, maybe it's five or maybe it's some other thing, and you're like, oh dude, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did all this other stuff rather than be kind, right?
I
So
know.
five is a way of taking that top level cerebral knowledge and finding a way for it to seep into your cells so you can live it and experience it in a much more beautiful way, in a less vain way, in a less vain way. And I guess I'll add that as well, as like five is so not vain. It's not about vanity at all. There's no metrics, there's no arriving, there's no nothing. It just is. It's a stepping into, and I feel a lot of other psychedelic experiences have aspects of vanity to them. I've never felt that. I've never felt that from Enfold. I've never felt that from the medicine itself. I've never felt that in speaking to other people. It is just wholeheartedly about you. It's like, hey, are you trying to go out there and like win the game? No, with five, you're not trying to win any game. You're literally just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
And I've really, really, really appreciated that, both in my experience with Enfold and my experience with the medicine itself.
Beautiful. Thank you, Joss. I think that's a
Hmm.
wonderful way to leave the conversation. I am so grateful that you were able to come onto the podcast and share all that. I think you have a wonderful way of articulating your thoughts and also connecting with people. And I really hope that this podcast lands in those that need to hear it.
Awesome. Jess, thank you for the platform. Thank you for your lovely hosting skills and the beautiful conversation in this space and hanging out. It's been fun. And I hope that people in listening to this right now are able to either go back or actually take a moment, write something down, and go, you know what? Just take one thing, man. You create your version of it and you hold that close to your heart.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for listening to the Still In It podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're interested in hearing more, the best thing you could do is to leave us a review. This allows us to continue to record and inform others on the 5MEO experience. If you want to join our beloved community or learn more about us, feel free to visit us at enfold.org. That is enfold.org.